Deep in the cosmic unknown, a dark chevron hovers beside a vast, inscrutable cube. Inside the chevron, Mickey Fluke holds another, much smaller, inscrutable cube in her hands.
All right, got the last one here. Oh, God, my hands are freezing.
She joins the biological man beside the power and rewinding array here on the ship's Bach and electrics deck.
I didn't even know things could be this cold. Ow, 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 ow.
And she plugs the frigid cube into an intake socket in the power array. The final fresh Bach slotting in beside its other frosty, fresh companions, and
instantly, several gauges explode.
A whole bank of power dials and needles deconstruct themselves, coiled meter springs cranking so tight that they crack their housings and detonate in spirally bouquets of overwound metal.
a goofy cacophony of bouncing bolts and springs resounds across the deck as Mickey and the biological man shield their heads, taking cover from a shower of flying screws.
My word! The power in these fresh Bachs is off the charts!
The biological man laughs.
There's no way I'm installing one in the Merlin without majorly reconfiguring his power transmission first.
Everett elevators into the room, just in time to see one last loose gear roll to a halt on the floor amid broken glass.
Damn, that's strong, huh?
Incredible. Just incredible. These Bachs could power the Foldlight for...
A lifetime, by any chance? Mickey says, smiling hopefully.
The biological man's brow furrows as he strains with the mental math.
Well, we did just break the instruments that could measure that, but in any case, these fresh Bachs are orders of magnitude more powerful than any we've had in stock, or anything anyone ever, anywhere, has ever had in stock, any time in history. I didn't even know Bachs could contain that much power. My goodness.
Hot off the presses, or cold, I guess. Good stuff.
Everett leans beside the Bachular array.
It's good news for us, though. Now, at least, we can have plenty of power while we die of old age trying to get home.
So, about that.
Mickey is chewing her lip, peering at the overcharged Bachular array.
I've got a navigation plan to propose to everyone.
Explain to me again how this isn't suicide?
We take it in stages, Rawfield. We get comfortable at each level of speed, assess the risk, and accelerate again if it feels acceptable to do so.
At the kind of speeds you're talking about, we wouldn't even have time to react to obstacles. One single maneuvering mistake and we're flattened on an islet or skewered by a spear of mica.
You forget, Ripley, the ship is a sword. If we hit an islet or a piece of mica, that's what's likely to get flattened or skewered, not us.
That's not better.
The Foldlight can help. It can react and adjust its own course much faster than any of us. It can convey us safely and successfully detecting and bypassing obstacles.
Rawfield looks unconvinced.
Yes, but the greater the speed, the more rapid and constant the necessary corrections to avoid those obstacles. And at these truly suicidal speeds that would be required to make any meaningful progress home, we'll be shaken to bits with all the incessant maneuvers.
I could cushion you all again, as I did during our bumpy ride exiting the hall.
But for how long, Steve? Hours? Days? Months? Continuously? Can you do that, really?
Well, no, but I...
Mickey throws up her hands and slumps against Control's navigation desk. Rawfield, I get you're just trying to do your job here, but do you want it to take centuries to get home? We gotta pick up the pace here.
No, of course not. I'm just pointing out that there is considerable risk.
No risk, no reward.
Perhaps not, but there is no reward at all with excessive risk. Whatever, I've said my piece. As a doctor interested in not seeing you all violently pulverized, I will have to vote no.
All right. If it's a vote, then, all in favor of carefully flying fast?
Mickey raises her hand, and then, so too, do all the rest of the crew, except for Rawfield, one by one.
Even Steve tentatively hoists a gelatinous palp.
Merlin seems annoyed at the imposition of having to vote at all, but he tosses his hand into the air as well.
Everett laughs.
Oh shit, okay then, well, that settles that. Turbo speed it is.
Rawfield just grunts and crosses her arms.
Fine, but I don't like it at all. Stages, Mickey. Accelerate in stages.
Don't worry, Doc. That's the idea. I think safely going fast in a straight line when it is clear to do so is within all of our combined expertise here. And we'll keep the teletheric open the whole time so we can listen for civilization.
Rawfield uncrosses her arms.
I certainly hope you're right about all this.
Understood. Thank you, Rawfield. Okay, everybody, let's ready, set, go.
The fold light's rosy glow dapples the granddaughter's veiled face. To Cleo's eye, it almost gives them a lifelike luster.
She leans against the lamp housing, watching her semi-zombified paramour commune with the bulb, bare hand on glass encasement.
Omelette, squeezed into control along with everybody else, has curled himself around the fold light like a gigantic furry donut, though he seems alert, expectant, his antennae twitching.
Gentle evasions, no sudden moves. Changes to speed should always be gradual. Look far ahead for any obstacles and correct for them well in advance. I am safely and successfully navigating back to MIDST.
And if you absolutely can't evade something in time, try to give us enough warning that Steve can cushion us. But oh, please don't slice through any animals or flocks of birds or anything. Or islets.
That might be a bit overcomplicated, Cleo. I'm not sure that the fold light can reconcile each and every... Understand. Gentle choices. Safety. Speed. Protect life. Within and without.
Dot looks a tiny bit surprised. Cleo beams at them.
Ta-da! Thanks, Foldlight. I believe in you.
Understand. Cleo.
Zila strolls by with an armful of unused punch discs.
Okay, we've got the rest of the maneuvering basics and the if-thens programmed. Might get a little bit bumpy, but we should have time to adjust for anything truly dangerous before we hit it. Fold light and understand its job?
Understand.
Cleo beams again. Foldlight, understand.
Wow, thanks, bulb buddy.
Zila happily pats the bulb.
We're gonna do this.
We will certainly try.
And then, at Zila's admonishing mock glare,
We are going to do this. We will.
okay, that's that. We're ready to go.
Mickey calls from the navigation desk.
Skies are clear, wind is within reason. Merlin, you want to do your thing and count us down?
Merlin does not turn from gazing emptily at the horizon.
Not particularly.
Oh, I will! The biological man chirps excitedly. I love countdowns. Ready? 10.
Whoa, we don't need it from 10. Give us, from 3.
Drat. Very well. Felix, would you cue me in?
I would hope you can count down from 3, mister. Anything above 5, though, give me a call.
The biological man looks around at the crew, soliciting signals of readiness.
The entire crew, including Steve, all at their stations, signal back.
Very well. Good luck, everyone.
The biological man calls, taking a stand at the forward windows of control, very captain-like.
3.
Disc levers ready. The fold light swirls, attentive.
2.
Let us fly.
1.
Oh boy, here we go!
Go!
And with actually a slightly anticlimactic, slow and safe acceleration, the ship begins to sensibly and non-violently proceed ahead, gradually accelerating.
The vast cube of the Bocular Factory recedes, diminishes, and eventually vanishes, along with the geometric clouds.
Merlin watches it go. A mixture of what exactly? Something very strange, deep, and complicated, swirling inside of him.
And then the uninteresting and normal factory is gone, and the ship is alone above the median, picking up speed across the Un.
The way is clear. The skies are bright and the clouds are few.
And increasingly less cubic.
As the chevron accelerates to cruising velocity, then beyond, then further beyond, then quite far beyond, then really kind of alarmingly far beyond.
Quite soon, they are zipping along at their former record speed, previously attempted during certain times of dire emergency. You remember some of those. Good times. Classic times.
The ship follows the trail of bacular pallets zipping by below, like the dashed lines down the middle of a long, straight cosmic highway.
Clouds whip by astoundingly. The wind is a keening drone.
Mickey is scanning the horizon, Everett beside her, both of them binoculating astutely.
Okay, how we doing so far?
Mickey asks.
We okay? Sky is clear, speed is... wow!
This is fine,
Rawfield says.
It's more so the absurd logarithmic multiples of this speed that you were proposing that I'm worried about.
One step at a time, then. Let's go to stage 2.
And the ship goes faster still.
The fold light bridges the transition so smoothly that the passengers inside barely feel any difference in their bodies. But the scene outside is beginning to take on a strange, flickering quality.
The fold and the Un themselves remain eerily consistent. God, there's just so much cosmos out there. So it's really the little things that give away their speed. Clouds, mica, flocks of birds, pallets of box, floating forests, islets blinking in and out of view like those flickering specks of dust you see in old films.
Whoa, this is pretty fast. But we can go much faster.
Stage 3.
The Un is a dizzying smear, sparkling with imperceptible shrapnel.
The fold looks deceptively normal, its flat black expanse as smooth and reflective as ever, but with an uncanny vibration, a blur.
Everett is staring wide-eyed at the vibrating helm gauges.
Congrats, everybody. I think we're officially going faster than Secretious Ruggabald and his rip-roaring ungun. And unlike him, we're alive to notice. Whew, another record for the history books. We are now the fastest known people ever.
Cleo is huddling breathlessly against Omelette.
Wait, we haven't beaten the speed record already before this?
I think we've beaten all the records except for Ruggabald. Maniac fired himself out of a massive terror cannon and got liquefied in the process, but he was, briefly going very, very, very fast. But I'm pretty sure we're faster now.
Not fast enough.
Mickey is scribbling white-knuckle algebra on her maps.
We gotta keep this up for God knows how long, or we pick up the pace. Shit, this is crazy. Doing okay, Rawfield?
No, I'm not loving it, but this is a little safer than I was expecting so far. Good job, everybody, but do not get complacent.
The fold light makes a strange sound, like a sigh or a groan.
Dot has not taken their hand off of it once, and they now give it a little pat.
Fold light, are you all right?
I think this is fun.
Mickey raises an eyebrow.
That's encouraging. Let's keep it going. Next stage, fold light.
This whole time, the teletheric has been broadcasting whatever it receives over the ship's intercom.
So far, just a lot of static.
Kind of the audio equivalent of what they're observing outside. Fuzzy, crackling, fizzing static.
But then, a sliver of something else. A voice? A scrap of music?
Everett lets out a triumphant whoop.
Whoa, hear that? That's, I guess it's not much.
It could be ancient transmissions. The earliest remnants of teletheric broadcast history. We're making progress. Merlin has remained still and impassive before the window, as immobile as a piece of furniture. Steve squatting beside him in silent companionship. Meanwhile, the biological man is practically giggling with excitement and wonder. Perhaps Merlin would have done the same once upon a time. Now, this mind-bending scene doesn't make much of an impression on him. It's just another record in his history logs. The cosmos experienced fast, the cosmos experienced slow. What's the difference? It's flawed either way.
But he is rather interested to observe the gradually increasing stress test of the new Ultrabox. So far, so good.
Everyone else seems to be having a good time. A strange, giddy, almost caffeinated mood is bubbling up in the crew. Whether it's the light at the end of the proverbial tunnel that's giving them hope or some side effect of their unimaginably high, unprecedented speed, a practically party-like atmosphere seems to be blooming out of nowhere. Even Rawfield has cracked a smile.
Dot briefly peeks in their attic box labeled Insane Exhilaration, and then slams it shut again after their heart nearly pounds out of their chest.
The fold light is strobing like a film projector, computing and executing hundreds of tiny micromaneuvers each second, evading countless obstacles, large and small, self-triggering enough commands to wipe out regular box in minutes. But the frosty fresh power supply is holding true.
Let me go faster. I will keep you safe. I believe in me.
Mickey lets out a big breath from puffed cheeks.
Okay, Fold Light. Let's go faster.
So, from this point on, language is going to become increasingly meaningless as we try to communicate just how insanely fucking fast the ship is going.
The cosmos is a shivering maelstrom of distorted color.
Like how a car wash probably seems to a dog.
An absolutely incomprehensible spectacle.
They must be passing things, islets and so on and so forth, but these things no longer even register as flickers. They are gone before there is even a chance to perceive them. The un and the fold remain the only constants. A smear of light and a smear of dark.
Faster.
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 Faster!
Omelet's antennae are flat against his head, his eyes enormous, each of his numerous feet making overstimulated biscuits against the smooth dark mica floor.
The teletheric is coughing and spitting. For a moment, they could swear they hear music? Voices? Then
12, 7, 18, test, 6, 28, broadcast test.
Hello, you're out there listening. We're glad to be here with you.
Thank you very much. I'm really pleased to be out here. This is really something.
Screw, take it away.
Caller, you're on the air.
Extremely high nutritional content.
Valor in our hearts, valor in our cities, valor in our streets, valor in our homes. And it starts with you.
whoa! What the hell? We can go faster!
Destroy all those who stand before you with flashing lights of death. Newsflash.
Reports are confirming.
Willie Swimsy dead. And now,
Joining us today in the studio. Hi, how you doing? Thanks again for joining us. As always, you can tune in for local music talent any time of day, any time of month. And that's why the rules of the trust were established.
What the fuck? We can go faster!
the panel we got it is beginning. Welcome to the panel. Very valorous of you to join us tonight.
That's why we say thank you. Notaries, you help us measure deeds with ease.
The single most kindest individual in the cosmos who they're calling the imbalance. And now, a word from the Teletheric Opportunity Network.
Crunchy Fiber Bits. Mail in now and subscribe for Crunchy Fiber Bits delivered
Set purchase.
the most exciting digestive biscuits to hit the market.
Storms coming in from the other side of town today should be relatively.
Have you ever drowned anybody in the coffee? Well, if you haven't, you should try it. It's a great way to dispose of booze you don't like.
Evening will be arriving earlier than expected tonight. Buy gold today. Gold is lucrative and
The tiny little bear turned to the children and said, I'm going to kill creamy butter, 1 cup of sugar, 2 cups of maggots.
A rising scream of speed, a growing familiar howl.
The biological man's eyes are starry with wonder.
We must have passed through the sound curtain.
A blur of signal and noise, the energies and emanations of an entire cosmos bleeding, smearing together, homogenizing, averaging into a single unmistakable song.
The tonality.
The biological man cries out.
Could it be? Is it possible?
The
It's...
sound of us going way too fast?
Mickey yells. The ship suddenly starts fishtailing, a powerful oscillation quaking in control as a loud resonance begins to vibrate throughout the dark mica shard.
It's a spectacle of horror, such as none that I have ever seen. Classic stories, brought to you by a variety of... I was there when MIDST Spoon fell.
Bernhard Gottl Science Hour. Today, electricity. Highlight announcing temporary withdrawal from all Cosmos-wide obligations as they reconfigure internally. Open invitation to participate in resolving end-of-trust-related...
A ship of the Cosmological Consortium assembled by a unified...
I never stop loving you, Sheriff Rapier Alfredanis!
What episode of Unsmoke is this? I don't recognize this. Oh my god, it's current, Mickey!
Cleo gasps.
Does this mean we've caught up to civilization?
Spoiler, stop the ship! This is an emergency!
Everett is freaking out.
Please, slow us down gradually!
Rawfield chokes out.
Gently, safely and successfully.
Mickey is trying to peel herself toward the fold light lever, G-forces weighing on her limbs.
Oh shit, if we overshoot!
Then Steve is glowing, hovering, head bulb flashing, and an invisible protective force engulfs everyone aboard.
Slow us down more, I've got you.
Many decks break solid with spare mass, protecting their contents as the ship slows more aggressively.
Control remains unbricked, and the deceleration is enough for all of the untelekinesis objects in the deck to instantly pancake into the prow windows, a pulverized junk pile of smashed craft.
The cosmos recoheres as the ship decelerates.
Flickers of passing objects start to appear again, and a rugged field of mica reveals itself in the Below, the fold surges with a tumultuous current.
Slower.
An opaque morass of papers and pens and protractors and coffee cups and clocks plaster the forward windows, flattening into G-force pulp as though under a mighty hydraulic press.
Steve is straining to hold them, his head bulb strobing nearly as bright as the fold light itself.
Slower.
Pencils and binoculars and wooden stools and paper maps and Zila's cup of tea are compressing into some other form of matter, compacting into pure atomic cement within the wedge of the prow windows.
A huge crack splits across the ship's crystalline hull as the shard of the ship undergoes God knows how many kilonewtons of deceleration G-forces, and the view outside fractures like a broken mirror. Oh god, oh no!
Cleo's shrieking, Slowing! Steve is holding them.
And then he collapses, head dim, his telekinesis fading, and the crew stagger and grapple to brace themselves.
As, with a broken sloshing, the now indistinguishable bog of pulverized objects slumps from the windows and drools to the floor as the ship eases to a stop.
Before them, piercing the horizon,
Holy shit, says Felix.
a tremendous edifice rises out of the median. At its base, concrete struts support a vast, sloping seawall. that the current hurls itself against in violent, chaotic surges.
The first time house.
Felix breathes.
The end of the fount. The beginning of time. Thanks for listening to Unend. If you're enjoying the story, please rate and review to help someone new discover the cosmos.
You can catch Unend every Wednesday anywhere you stream podcasts or through the MIDST Podcast YouTube channel.
If you're looking to dive deeper into the story, become a Beacon member at beacon.tv or join the fold on MIDST.co to receive early ad-free access to episodes, behind-the-scenes exclusives, and lore-expanding bonus content.
Or, if you just want to hear this podcast 2 weeks early and without ads, subscribe on Spotify or Apple Podcasts.
To stay up to date on what's next in the cosmos, sign up for our newsletter on MIDST.co or find us on social media at MIDST Podcast.